we are on this journey. Discovered a lot of things going back to the past, likes of the greats, Sam Snead, Henry Cotton, the great Ben Hogan. The greats of the day all had like what they termed like a hidden sort of mystery about them. And they traded off this because the tours back then weren't that lucrative. So what they used to do, especially Sam Snead and alike, they used to have big one-on-one money matches, because back then they could match play head to head, and 18 holes or sometimes 36 hole money matches, and they earn more for that than they would if they won a tournament. So your swing had to be really solid under pressure, right? It had to really work. Under pressure, if you have a weakness or if you have any quirks or things that are not mechanically sound, it'll show up. Now, the power accumulator that everyone sort of talks about, and it has been mentioned in golf for a number of years. Everybody wonders where is the power accumulator. But I reckon the power accumulator that we all are reaching for is within our grasp if we just think about it in the correct bit of space. Because we're surrounded in space 360 degrees around us, and that's where our body can move and our swing can move. But our power accumulator is somewhere that I reckon most of us miss. In golf, you're standing but you're slightly bent over, and yet we've talked about this, your hands are nice and relaxed, and I'm talking about getting into this position here. Effectively, it puts your lead shoulder in front of your rear shoulder, okay? Now this is where it gets interesting. What if I was to say that your power accumulator is actually here on your scapula or lead shoulder blade, but it's not actually here. Your power accumulator is out in front of you here on this track. As you're bent over, it's obviously going to be slightly down the way. In this position here, when you swing back, it obviously moves, and when you swing down and through, you've got to keep it so that this is clear in this way, but this is going under the power accumulator. Now, this in turn gives you two different levers. The lever of the club coming in from waist high, and this lever coming in from the high point down. So it's giving you two levers. The third lever is the ground. So you've now employed three different levers. There is a fourth lever. Ever wondered why most pros sit slightly tilted? Because your back can actually add a dimension in. So you've now got four levers, including obviously the club. So that is why this swing employs so many of them, and also helps you. So if you use standard golfing techniques and look at this closed position here, is it closed though? Because the railway lines that everyone talks about are misinterpreted. This one here is your heel line only, and this one here is your flight line, the club head. Here we are here. If I was standing like this on the vertical railway line, that would be fine, because I'm all lined up on it. But nobody, to my knowledge, has managed to actually swing this much upright. It's near impossible to do. No club in the world's been designed like this, apart from maybe DeChambeau's putter, but that's something that he's developed for this kind of motion here. Even that's near impossible to do completely vertical, because your feet would hit the ball. So you've got to be bent over. As soon as you bend over, you've left the vertical and you're now on the 45, which intersects the vertical and the flight line. Therefore, if you are swinging in this method, which we've discussed, which some of you are obsessed with it being closed, because you're swinging this way and then you're swinging to give you this down to here and through, now you're leading, and you can see there you're clearing on the 45, but your flow is coming up and over on back on, if you're up here. So in short, your shoulders have to cross the railway line as close to a 45 angle as possible, and your power accumulator point is out in front of you, out here, actually in between these 2 points. So when you're setting up in this position here, you are actually giving yourself the biggest opportunity to turn back to the target, drop the club to waist high, and then allow your natural centrifugal force and body rotation to square at impact. It's a huge lever, and it's a massive draw with the hands. Gets confused with lag. It's not lag. Remember, it's happening that fast, so even talking about it in a slow motion is very confusing. But if you can understand that the vertical track here, the flight line track here, and the horizontal ground that you're standing on, right, and this line here, it has to cross. People talk about, and we will go into this later, I've heard this term on the television, whoa, double cross. And yeah, that can happen in your swing, but the majority out there, myself, I was an over the top swinger. Once you get into this position, how you get into it is up to you. But once you're in here and swinging like that, and everything is pivot wise 45, 45, square. And you will be square for about that much through the ball. So what I'm talking about, the difference with this method is you are accomplishing a swing and a hit in one motion, rather than the old adage of you were either a swinger or a hitter. You're actually doing both. Mo Norman clearly did this not when he originally started. If you go back 1943, 1947, 1957, look at Mo Norman, black and white, very grainy images. Mo Norman did not set the club away from the ball. He set it at the ball. Very much like all the standard professional swings of the day. Only in Mo Norman's latter day did he start to set up, and you saw him employ this method here, which is in his lifeline, and he would set the club here. There's the club, there's the ball. Now if Mo had swung just like that and that, Mo would never ever have actually ever got back to the ball. But because you watch him, he moves this way as he's swinging. Obviously Mo has a huge stance, so he has to laterally slide this way, and then whoa, he's getting a massive power base there. The other thing Mo did, which no other professional, you can watch all the videos of Mo, whilst he's setting up in this position with a wide stance, his legs, and he used to wear baggy trousers so it's hard to detect, his legs at address are dead straight, absolutely straight. Hence Mo could stand as tall as he did at address. And when he swung it back and he was coming laterally, he started to bend his knees and then ended up in this position here and through. Quite phenomenal, because to time all of that from a straight leg position at address to then a both knees bent at through impact and keep the club as shallow as he did takes some doing. But that is why this system with the shoulders and the power accumulator being out in front of you works, because it stays there as you're swinging, and it's still there. It's like you've got to swing underneath the power accumulator, keeping your head and your front part here under the power accumulator, as in not in front of it but under it, and like level with the ball. So your power accumulator is actually out in front of you, just like the club is, but it's your shoulders we're talking about. Right, so we're cutting this short and we're leaving it here. You could argue that this is something that is really quite complicated, but you don't just swing in one dimension, you swing in all three dimensions. And like I say, the whole thing is obviously an elliptical arc which is going round you. It's like a lasso rope. When the cowboys have got the lasso rope with a big ring on it, and they've got the rope controlled, they can make it swing, and they can make it swing in and swing out, and it's on this rope, and then whoo, they can throw it, the ring goes out whoo, round the cattle's neck, and then whoo, they pull it tight. That is what you're doing with the golf swing, right? If you are familiar with Count Yogi, if you watch Count Yogi's trace videos, which were done in film, they used to have long exposure, so what would happen is the white line would follow the trace of the head. It's like a delay lasso movement down at the ball. Same thing, filmed a different way before slow motion video, but it shows you the elliptical arc of the club. So although people say that swinging on plane is the most efficient and most powerful way to swing a club, there are other ways to get the same power and same motion through, but keeping the small little twitchy muscles from interfering with it. And this is the pre-lock that we're talking about. Once you pre-lock, you'll find even here, shoulder in, there's no way you can get to the ball until your pivot takes you there. And when it does, you'll find that your hands are ahead of impact and your head's behind, and you're making cracking impact, and you're making the ball move with minimal spin and a powerful flight. You'll know because the ball doesn't the ball sets off kind of like on a low to high trajectory and then pans with a bit of run out. So it's not like whoop, straight up in the stratosphere with maximum backspin. It's a very neutral spin in ball flight, because a draw ball flight tends to have a slightly less amount of spin on it compared to if you cut it. It's probably got a lot more side spin on it to cut the ball. So anyway, thanks for watching. We're hoping to get to the range and get some of this down so that you can see the transition from like a small swing below waist height to then what happens when you're closed. When I say closed, the reason I'm using the word closed is because, well, 90% of you all understand golf as being this, right? This, in your world, is square. This is open, and this is closed. But if I was to tell you that closed is actually square, well, that would kind of freak half of you out. But that's the truth of it. And that's probably why all of us cannot understand why this doesn't work on the golf course and this does work on the golf course. Ever wondered why you're really struggling at golf? Because it defies the laws of natural physics to a degree until you work out what's actually effective. Body mechanics, club head, ball. Thanks for watching. Remember, the channel's all for charity. Ad revenue here goes to Macmillan Cancer, Help the Heroes and Shelter UK.